Welcome to the Featured Anime Podcast. I'm your host, Jack.
And I'm Rick.
And today we are talking about campfire cooking in another world with my absurd skill. But before that, we were talking about future space technology, water recycling, palatable water recycling, and giving a little bit of spoilery preview description of next week's choice, which you will hear about at the end of the podcast. But if you would like to catch all of that or a part of that or any portion of it, and then also join in on the heckling and fun that we usually have with every single episode, you can go to twitch.tv/Featured Anime Podcast. Mondays at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when we live stream, and that's when we're kind of all hanging out. Come join us. Or if you want to hear the pre-show that we usually put with every episode, you can go to patreon.com/Featured Anime Podcast. $1 a month will get you access to that bonus content. Plus, on top of that, right now, every Monday after the main show, I am dropping into our patron-only Discord channel, and we are watching a play-by-play of, or episode-by-episode, I should say, of Glass Lip. And while we do it, we're talking trash. We're having fun. We're poking fun at it because it's just a bad anime. In all honesty,
apparently that's one fantastic way to enjoy it.
It is fantastic. Not for those, not for children. I'll tell you that right now. Some of the comments that we have made last week, not for children. Only way to be a part of that, only way to hear that kind of banter, be a patron. Join us in our Discord channel there for our patrons only. And of course, if you want to get all the other wonderful stuff, we have our Tokyo Treats affiliate link down in the show notes. Featured anime for the coupon code. Get $5 off that very first box, and it is delicious. I will tell you that right now. Also, on top of that, if you want to buy yourself some swanky swag, go to shop.featuredanimepodcast.com. And we have an affiliate link for Crunchyroll where you can watch this week's choice. And it is a very enjoyable choice. I promise you that. And you will enjoy it too, almost assuredly. And as for everything else, of course, go to featuredanimepodcast.com. And now on to the me and brotatoes. Campfire Cooking in Another World with My Absurd Skill came out in January 2023, ran all the way through March 2023. Producer for it is Dugout. Its studio is Mappa. Sourced is a light novel. The genres are adventure, comedy, fantasy, and isekai. Just to name a couple, and it is 12 episodes long, just in case I did not say that the first time around. Now, this being an isekai, it is not your standard isekai film where the main character is overpowered. He's going out there fighting the demon lord or anything like that. This guy gets summoned into a new world with 3 other individuals who happen to be high schoolers, and they're a lot younger than him. He's a 27-year-old man, and his special skill is online shopping. No one knows anything about it. No one has any idea about it. And so as a result, with these other 3 individuals who have this magnificent skill and they are fully vested into the world already immediately, he just wants to kind of coast around through life and not worry about anything. As a result, he basically gets kind of lumped in with some pretty mythical or magical creatures, making him quite astounding in his own outright, bringing attention to himself in ways he never thought possible, while also cooking food using his online shopping skill that he has. So, I mean, like, would you say that's a fair assessment?
I would say that's fairly accurate. One of the things that I thought was quite interesting was that everything he purchases from the online accessory gives some kind of boost up to the point of
not quite,
like almost 50%.
Not everything he buys gives a boost. That's a pretty broad term.
Everything he buys from the online accessory does.
No.
Yeah, even the sauce, when he applies it to regular stuff, applies a boost.
That is not true. Not everything gives a boost. The cooking utensils, the cooking ware, the plates he bought. all of that.
You have a point. It does not give those inedible objects don't give a boost to anybody except slime.
The trash doesn't
Or
give
Suji.
the trash in general also doesn't give any boosts or stats. It's just normal trash on top
But
of it.
it does gain levels. It gives experience.
It gains levels through consuming it, but it also gains levels and experience through consuming things other than that trash too. Because he gained skills and levels through absorbing mushrooms.
Fair. That is a fair statement.
So you can't say he gains it because of that. Goose says, technically speaking, it's also how he prepares it that gives it a boost, if he's not mistaken.
It's really okay. I assumed that it was the quality, such as the A5 Wagyu gave Fenrir a 50% boost.
Yeah,
It is possible.
Yeah, I would assume so. Yeah.
Well, I was to say it's possible that it was an accumulation of all the other foods as well, because he didn't just eat one Wagyu. There was a plethora of other foods he ate alongside it. It was just the
Yes.
final topping,
Yeah.
if you will.
Yeah. And they do stack. Let's clear that too. They do stack. So it's not like he sits there and has like the Wagyu steak and all of a sudden, boom, he has 50%, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're getting ahead of ourselves, right? This is like in general, like you're experiencing and you're finding all this as you're kind of going along, right?
Yeah.
Which honestly, and the reason why we kind of, I'll say this right now, the part of the reason why we got kind of lost in the food portion of it, because that is a very big portion of this anime, right? That is like almost the key focal point. The foods and everything like that.
Wars.
Yeah. The thing that he has here, no one else experiences. And as he's figuring out like, oh, if I give people this food and everything like that, it gives them a boost. And he immediately goes, I have to be careful about who I give this to, simply because of that. Right now, the reason why I say not everything gives a boost is because they don't talk about the seasonings or all the sauces giving a boost, right? The only time that they talk about boost or reference boosts in general is when he's preparing or giving food in general, food and drink that is bought specifically from the store. I don't remember, and I'm gonna say this right now. I do not remember them talking about the seasonings or sauces giving any boosts, but that also does not mean that is not a factual statement, right? That, I mean, like it totally can, right? I am putting out there in the ether right now. I do not remember that because I don't remember them talking about that.
So they did and they didn't. And you kind of have to you have to extrapolate what you can out of the semi-short interactions. The point of reference I'm specifically referring to is right before Fel, also known as Fenrir, goes on a murder rampage, killing a bunch of grade A and S tier monsters. And I believe the I'm not going to say the exact because my memory's not that good, so I'll paraphrase. Fel says, whenever I eat your food, I feel a strange sense of energy just being exuded.
To be fair.
So that's why I assume.
So to be fair, a majority of the food that he was preparing before then, though, was only food that he had been buying from the store. So
correct.
So
they didn't have much other than that.
Right. They didn't really reference them getting boosts with the food that he was preparing after the fact, with the food that was made from that world. They didn't talk about or reference the foods giving boosts after that when he prepared them. He only ever talked about it, and from what I remember in that context, was the food that he bought specifically from there. So the buns, the sweets, even the rice, right, that he buys from there, the beer, all of it, the drinks, all of it gives a boost. When he was preparing, when he was preparing all the other seasoned foods and everything like that, never talked about everyone getting a boost. Now, people did comment on how great the food tastes and the quality of the meats and everything like that. But there were a couple of different things for the reason of that. One, he's preparing and cooking foods in ways they had never had. And two, when people find out the food that they like just haphazardly ate without even thinking about it, it's not like, oh, this like random cow that he just whatever. It's like, no, this is like high quality, super rare, super masterful meats and everything like that. That's why the food was so good. It's because the quality of the meat that they were using from that world was just so good. But they never referenced any boosts of stats on top of that after the fact.
Well, yes, they never mentioned it again, but
for those foods, but they did talk about boosts after the fact every time he ate food from the store.
Yes, from the store. I assumed that because, and that this is my assumption, because the salt, the pepper, all of the seasonings, all of the ketchup, mayonnaise, all that stuff was taken from the store, and it was never sent. It was never specific. I can talk, I promise. It was never mentioned specifically that, very similar to how the Fenrir was like, hey, every time I eat your food, I feel a boost. It was never stated that that went away. So I can only assume, and based off of what we saw, that maybe the boost might not be as strong, but I always assumed it was there. Otherwise, I feel like Fenrir, being the type of character they portrayed, would have said
clarify something here also, because you're throwing out other names as well. Fenrir is Fel. Fel is the name of the character that
I said that
Makoto makes a contract with. Now, the reason why Fel makes a contract or becomes his familiar, right, through it, is because Fel smelled his cooking, wanted to eat it and everything like that. And he says, yes, every time I eat your food, I get this boost. And again, I want to try and keep this in context of
it was only the store food at the time.
And he only said it once.
Yes.
But the contract that Fel creates with Makoto also is forcefully negotiated specifically because of that food too. Like he eats it and he is forced, like Makoto is forced into the contract because of that food. And that's why I wanted to reiterate that food, right? That he loves the food that he was buying, is because Fel straight up says, listen here, bro, I'm going to be your familiar. We're going to make a contract right now. He was like, but I don't want that. No. You don't understand, Makoto. I'm a Fenrir. Right. And that's why, that's why you keep saying it, because everyone keeps referring to him as Fenrir, because that is what he is. His name is Fel. Yeah. Makoto names him Fel, but Fel straight up says, nah, bro, you don't have a choice in this. We're making this contract.
This is happening. The food is going to be mine.
Exactly. Yeah, basically. And later on, Fel even says, because of you, I can't eat uncooked food. I can't eat food that is no longer prepared. You have ruined it for me. You now will always have to prepare food for me. And so
you can't go home. You can't do this. You can't do that. You're stuck. Yeah,
basically. And Fel's whole mentality surrounding it, focusing on it, is 100% one of my dogs. or rather a couple of my dogs, and the fluffiness and the attitude portion of it, 100% one of my cats.
What's funny is my wife and I were watching it, and she goes, I like this show. I'm like, really? Why? And she goes, I relate so much with Fenrir. I'm like, really? She goes, yeah, because Fenrir is always like, what do you want for food? I like meat. Every single time, without fail, whenever he's like, I wonder what we're having for dinner. I like meat. I choose meat. Meat would be awesome. Meat would be great. I'd like meat. I want this meat. I want that meat. Give me that meat.
Yeah.
And my wife is like, sounds like the perfect diet.
Right?
And she nudges me in the ribs going, you should learn how to cook all that stuff, because that looks really good. And yes, they did a fantastic job at portraying the food. And to the best of my understanding, I haven't done much research except on two specific dishes I think the way that it's explained on how to cook them is the proper way to cook them. And I was looking at beef teriyaki, and there was a spicy version of that too. And granted, we don't have a rock, we don't have a dragon, we don't have a troll, we don't have any of that stuff, but it does make real world comparisons. Like, this looks like really, really good pork. If I was to cook it like this, if I was to do this, and I do this in this manner, and I do this, I wait till this point in time, and then I put this, then I do this, then I do this. I think it's a step-by-step tutorial on how to cook, if I'm being honest.
I would not be surprised.
I know some of the techniques he was using was correct. The only thing I really there's a few things that I didn't like about it, but one of the things I didn't find all that appealing is he kept using a knife that was far too small for the meat that he was trying to prepare and cook, and it wasn't sharp. You saw him really fighting with the meat, and I was like, if you just got a sharp, you have a store, you can get a sharpener, you can just have you can have amazing knives, but you just are cheap. Even though he becomes in my mind, one of the wealthiest people in the anime.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, the dude straight up makes bank.
Yeah, all because Fenrir is hungry. He can't butcher anything. So one of the things that we kind of missed out on, he has 2 or 3 main powers. The first power is obviously online shopping. The second ability or power is appraisal. The third ability and or power is item box.
Yes.
Which basically means he can store whatever he wants. And the best part about that is it puts it in a type of stasis that the way you put it in is the way it comes out. So you have it piping hot when it goes in there, boom, no problem. It comes out just as fresh, just as it's almost as if you didn't do anything except put it in, take it out immediately. And things that are frozen stay frozen. Meat does not spoil, and anything and everything. That there's no size limit from what we can see, and there does not appear to be a capacity limit that we can see. Although he very smartly does say that there's a limit. He says it's a very small box so that he's not exploited. At least that's what I think.
Yeah, and he does say that. So he specifically says that too. He plays down the size of it so that way it can't be exploited until he gets to a certain point where he's like, I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to be able to fit all this in there. And granted, when he's stuffing stuff in there, it's not a little amount.
No, it's mountains of meat, mountains. But one of the things that really annoyed me, just straight up frustrated me beyond anything it probably should have. Our main character is kind of a wuss. And it's not that he's overly cautious. It's that he is, even after being proven to the point that he can grow levels, he can become stronger, he can do this, he can do that, he seems overly afraid of every little thing. And Fenrir even puts a shield on him that can block a pseudo dragon attack, and yet he's still running from goblins that he could blow up.
Yeah, and that is a kind of a drawback for the guys too. To be fair, though, you also have to kind of look at it from his point of view. He's not the teenagers where they're like full of vigor and have these attacking spells and everything like that. He's probably lived a very, very sheltered life in general, where he's just kind of like gone with the flow, skirted his way through there.
Yeah, no, I get that too. But my frustration is the fact that he witnesses the fact he can level up, and he can level up fairly easily considering he doesn't fight all that much. He goes from level 1 to level 3, I think, total. And I'm over there sitting like, he's got magic projectiles. Eventually, he gets to know how Fenrir is so strong with certain abilities, and it's due to the blessing of a goddess. And eventually, he gets a blessing as well. And he, while not as strong as Fenrir, because he gets a minor blessing rather than a major blessing, still strong enough to handle a fair amount of orcs and goblins and spiders and all sorts of creatures that should be able to take out a grade C hunting party. He's able to handle on his own. Not to mention, you got Fenrir right behind him, and one of the cutest, probably my favorite character, was Sui, mainly because it's a water-based slime that eventually can create amazing healing concoctions that will, I believe the exact translation was a high healing potion that will cure you of imminent death.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm like, you've got instant, you have an instant health up right there. You have everything you could ever hope for. You've got an impervious shield. You've got copious amounts of magic. If your MP runs low, you've got you can drink a little potion, and all of a sudden it's back up there. So you can continue firing, you continue blowing things up with your fireball, with your rock sledge throw, whatever you'd like to call it. And then all else fails, you still have Fenrir, who is a maxed out companion who is diligently waiting on its next meal.
Yes.
And I mean, eventually you become kind of friends, kind of, sort of. But you also have your little slime who, after eating all of your trash, and the reason the slime is called Sui is because it was responsible for the cleanup. It would eat all the dirt, it would clean the dishes, stuff like that, and it would grow stronger. And what I found hilarious was the fact that the slime ended up becoming stronger than him. He used praise a few times on himself and on Sui, and realized that Sui has higher stats than him.
Oh yeah.
And he does nothing about it.
Well, to be fair, I mean, like Sui, the slime that became his familiar, straight up, didn't really give him a choice, and it's commented that the reason why Sui, the slime, became his familiar was because he wanted to, like, purely, like, he wholeheartedly, unconditionally wanted to be with him,
wanted to serve,
and that was the story. That's why he did it. That's how he became it.
Yeah, and Sui became a very special slime. It even, I believe, evolved twice. The first time was able to was with the ability to enable speech. The second time was with the ability to create healing potions. But even still, Sui's got an acid spray that one-shots many, many, many enemies, many different items. And Sui slowly but surely becomes not battle hardened, but battle loving, due to its Uncle Fel, who's like, hey, you can fight. Let me show you how to fight. And maybe you can be strong enough one day that you can pose a challenge to me, and so I can work out. And I thought that was a really interesting dynamic.
Yeah. No, it was a very cute dynamic is what it was. I mean, like the whole time Makoto is like, no, you're my precious little Sui, and he's overly in love with him, tries to take care of him, loves him like wholeheartedly, and doesn't want him to be a hardened killing machine, only to end up a hardened killing machine. You know? So
yeah.
It's like, well, that's not what I was hoping for.
No, absolutely not. He was more to the point, I believe, asking and hoping that you would have a companion who was more timid like him. But again, like I said, you've got, assuming all your defenses are done, and the best way to level up is to go kill things, to go farm experience and stuff like that. The best way to learn spells, also farming experience. He only ever learned a spell when he was like on the cusp of losing it. It was a desperation epiphany, let's call it. And again, never in danger, but never not scared. Which, I mean, I understand. If you've got things coming at you with the desire to kill you and the ability to, that you perceive the ability to, terrifying. However, he, again, 2 tanks, legitimate wrecking balls at his shoulder, a shield that would take a dragon's hit 2 or 3 times before even considering shattering. and magic that you're a glass cannon, magic that's strong enough to wipe these things out before they get within 50 yards of you. And he's got an AoE attack, which is basically fireball that explodes everything. He's got an AoE attack with rocks that basically rock bullet Gatling style.
Yep.
Like he's got really fairly strong, powerful attacks.
He does.
That he had the ability to utilize, and he never does. And throughout the entire series, he's just cooking and being happy, which is it's a good anime for that. It's very nice. Just if you plan on watching it, understand that this is not a shonen. This is not a weak to strong, even though it kind of is, but it's not depicted that way. It's not a fighting anime, even though it is quite funny to see just mammoth beasts being taken down on a whim, if you will, by Fel, who happens to be a maxed out character, a maxed out god guardian kind of sort of thing. A major blessing. So like he's not only is he boosted in his strength, he's got an affinity for air magic, but he can create a tornado that will slowly rip you apart.
Oh yeah.
Without really breaking a sweat.
Yeah. And it just speaks to the level and power of these characters that he actually has with him, the rate at which they grow, how they interact with him and everything else. It just really honestly is very well done, in my opinion.
Yes.
It is. It's not, nothing's like forced. And I'm going to use that term loosely simply because we know how Fel was, right?
Yeah.
But it's the how they interact, how they mesh with each other, the interactions that they have with them. It's not forced interactions. So it seems very fluid. Yeah. It's nicely done. I can't complain with how it is. And then for us, honestly, for my wife and I, the favorite character for us was Fel, mainly because of how he was. He was comedic. He was funny. It's like he was a character and had a personality that my wife and I both could look at and go, yeah, that is totally our animals right there, with the attitude, the look, how he interacts, how he moves around, everything. Like, it's just 100%. We had fun largely because of Fel for us.
Yeah. Yeah. Same thing on my end. My wife identified certain characteristics. I told her, like, I'm more like Makoto and she's more like Fel, except for the fact that I very rarely tell her no. Not because I she's my wife. I like to spoil her. And it for me, my no means way more because I don't say it that often.
Right.
And I don't pull it all that much, but I'm like, I'd really rather not do that. It's still a discussion, don't get me wrong, but it's not disregarded immediately, which is nice. And which is why I do my best to give her everything she can. So I can't give her the no that Makoto keeps giving Fel. Like, we're not having that. We're having this instead. I mean,
yeah, but the no's are also completely different too, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, like, because like the reason why it's like me telling my dogs no, right? It's saying like no to someone for a very specific reason is vastly different than saying no to your animal. And Makoto specifically references and calls Fel a dog, his animal, his pet, constantly.
He gets so pissed.
He's like, I am not your pet. It's like,
I am a great Fenrir. And it's funny because it's alluded to the fact that Fel is now, so kind of in not the middle, but kind of in the beginning of the show, Makoto wants to leave the country so that he's not embroiled in any political hoopla.
Yeah.
And when he does leave, he's about to enter a new country, a new is it a country? Yeah, a new country. And they have a story about a Fenrir that absolutely wrecked their little nation. And it's alluded to the fact that it's the same Fenrir.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean, like, and to be
Like-
fair, they probably did something to upset him. To be fair, they probably were like, listen here, bro.
they probably put a bounty on him, and he's like, "Oh, nay, nay."
Nay. You can't put a bounty on me. I put a bounty on me. This is his mentality. He's like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this.
I'm gonna earn what you think I can do.
Right. So it's
Or worse yet, that's not nearly enough. You're gonna have to double it.
it's like,
Oh,
what do you
I need to
mean?
be more evil. Okay.
It's like, wait. You mean to tell me that you don't think I am worth this amount? I'm only worth this amount? Bring
Well,
it.
in that case, yeah. I'm gonna show you how much it needs to be. Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I would watch it again with other people in the room. It is fairly kid friendly, which was a huge plus. So
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was enjoyable. So, that being said, I don't have too much more I can genuinely talk about, sir.
sadly, I do agree. Without really giving too much away, yeah.
All right. So, on a scale of up to 10, how would you rate this?
This for me would be normally I'd probably rate it like a 6 or so, but because I enjoyed it with my wife, it kind of elevates this to a different level. Because my wife enjoyed it with me, I'm gonna give it an 8.
Okay.
I can't quite give it a 10, but I can't. It edges out the 7s and the 6s. So yeah, because I could enjoy it with other people, and I could see references, and it was nice. An 8. I give it an 8.
Okay. All right. That's fair.
And
For me, I'm giving it an 8, not because my wife enjoyed it with me or anything like that, but because I genuinely enjoyed it. I thought it was a great show. However, there are a couple things I didn't like with it. 1, short. 2, such an open ending. And they talked about going to the beach so often that it didn't happen. Kind of like left a bad taste in my mouth. It's like, so you guys literally kept talking about this the whole time. It's talking about going there the whole time, and you're not going to go. So yeah, that's why I'm giving it an 8, because I left it open at the end.
It'll happen next season, I'm sure.
It will, probably, if there is a next season. Well,
It's fairly new, isn't it?
That doesn't mean anything to me, man. Genuinely, that means nothing to me.
It gives me more hope than
it gives me
than
no
a
hope
few other anime
whatsoever. No hope at all whatsoever. So yeah, next week we are watching The Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic as next week's choice.
And it's my choice.
And it is your choice. It is Rick's choice. Well, if you feel like we got something right, something wrong, did it too much justice, not enough justice, or anything like that, feel free to let us know. You can reach out to us. All our information, contact information, all that wonderful stuff is in the show notes for you. You can go to featuredanimepodcast.com and get all the information and wonderful information there. If you want to join us live, hang out with us, talk with us, and all that other stuff, heckle us, poke fun at me while OBS and everything else seems to lose internet connection midstream sometimes. Yeah, you know, every Monday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, twitch.tv/featured anime podcast. Come hang out. Or if you want to hear the pre-show or just hang out and have fun with us in general, you know, you can always do that too. And then patreon.com/featured anime podcast to get some of that bonus content. And again, after streams on Mondays in Discord, we will be hanging out. We'll be watching some anime, revisiting, and get to hear some live heckling and fun in general for the shows that we have watched before. And right now we are going through Glass Lip. And until next time, I'm Jack.
I'm Rick, and we'll see you next time.